Right, thank you for that, Samina. Meanwhile, big story that we're breaking this morning is a statement from the Adani Group very clearly saying that there are no bribery charges against Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani and Vneet Jaain in the DOJ indictment. Now, this is a very important clarification which is coming in on this. Adani directors have not been charged under US Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, that's the FCPA. Only Azure and CDPW officials have been charged with bribery in the US DOJ indictment. Now, this is important and Agam is joining us for more on this because, Agam, the question really is about whether everything that was reported was a bit misrepresented. And, we'll come to Agam in just a second. But look at, some of the lines which are coming in. And that's important this morning because it's about a complete refutal which is coming in from Adani Green Energy actually on this. They're saying the Adani directors have not been charged under the US FCPA, but it is employees of Azure and CDPW officials that have actually come in. So that's the big story that is coming in right now. All right, stand by for more details on this as we keep covering it and going along. We're staying on this story as we come with more details. But here is what we know as of now. And this is actually a circular which has come in this morning. Let me pull that up for you. On what really is the clarification coming in. And this is important because in this entire row, the reportage has focused on personal bribery charges against Gautam Adani and Sagar Adani. Sajid is now joining us for more details. And Sajid, that doesn't seem to be the case.
That's right. If you look at the deep, if you go into the indictment completely, it basically clearly, Adani Group is saying that there's no bribery charges which has been imposed on either Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani and Vneet Jaain, who were the directors of Adani Green Energy. It goes on to say that there were 5 counts which has been of indictment. The first count was with respect to bribery, which is under the FCPA, and that only applies to officials of Azure Energy and CDPQ, which is a Canadian investor and was one of the largest investor in Azure. And that FCPA is the basis which was generalized for all the people who were mentioned in the indictment. And so Adani Green is coming out and saying that there are only 3 counts of indictment which are there, which basically relates to, if I can read it out, is alleged security fraud conspiracy, alleged wire fraud conspiracy and alleged securities fraud. And these are all can be and there could be penalties for this kind of for these allegations which have been put in. And as part of the Adani Green disclosure, they're saying that while there is no penalty mentioned as of now, but it's something which has to be discussed with the DOJ and SEC because both of them are investigating on this.
So Sajid, fair assumption for us to make that it's Adani Group companies, Adani Green, are now in the green?
It is. The entire allegation was based on bribery.
Yeah.
The bribery charges are not been imposed on any of the Adani Group
directors. There were no basis. No basis. So all
the hue and cry about various projects and everything, where there were reports about many people reviewing all this, doesn't come into impact now. Doesn't come into effect now because it's not on bribery charges. It's on securities fraud, alleged securities fraud conspiracy.
This is a bigger problem because what happened with that is you saw shareholder wealth getting destroyed when the stocks corrected.
The group lost nearly $55 billion in market cap.
And that is on basis of false allegations.
Yes. It's also important to understand that if you read the 54-page indictment, the entire investigation was based on the charges filed against Azure. It started off from Azure and then went on to CDPQ, and then as part of that it went to the third party, which was as per the records they received, some of the directors. But the charges of bribery as such has not been filed against any of the Adani
companies. It just stays at Azure and CDPQ, which is the Canadian investor.
And was the largest investor in Azure.
And the largest investor. But we have Vneet Jaain, HOR of Ventura Securities, now joining in on the phone. Vneet, have you heard the latest news? Adani Group companies have been freed of any of those bribery allegations that were made against them a few days ago. More importantly, the bribery charges as per FCPA only apply to officials of Azure and investors in Azure, which is CDPA, which is the largest Canadian investor. What are your early thoughts?
So I believe that, they stand exonerated. So what is the charges against them? I think there are no charges against them. And I think that the stocks will now start moving up again. But more important is the issue that, the news has been carrying imperfect information which is impacting shareholders in India. And there are severe losses faced by shareholders in India. So I think one should just go out and buy these stocks. And I think there will be a tearing bull market considering these stocks today.
Saying go out and buy these stocks, there will be a roar reporting the news as we see it. Vneet, now what is important is to understand then what exactly are the charges. Viewers are going to be looking at this and they're going to be thinking that the statement right now is that Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani, Vneet Jaain have not been charged with any violations under FCPA. That's very important because FCPA is the clear charge. If not, then what is this whole thing about that we have been reading, seeing and hearing for the last 3 or 4 days?
Exactly. So one needs to really read the fine print to understand what is happening. But, when you think about it, then there are no charges against the Adani Group at all. So bribery was a very serious allegation and that is taken very seriously by the US markets and by the SEC and DOJ. Now with those charges not being implicated against them or they're not charged with that, I think virtually there is no case against them. If you think about it, of course we need to read the fine print to understand then what are the charges that are leveled against them. But when you drop these charges, then the entire story just fizzles out. And then I think all these stocks will make a comeback again.
We don't know about what the stocks will do. We'll of course wait and watch. That is Vneet Bulunchkar's own view. Vneet, just stay on with us. I want to get more details from Vishwanath Nair, my colleague as well, and just run viewers quickly through then what the allegations are. So between 2020 and 2024, senior executives of Adani Green, Azure Power and CDPQ, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's a Canadian institutional investor, Caisse des Dépôts du Quebec, I'm not going to try the French, they have allegedly participated in a scheme of bribery. Now, during the same period, senior executives conspired to misrepresent the anti-bribery practices and conceal this from investors. In addition, senior executives of Azure and CDPQ conspired to obstruct the US government's investigation into the scheme. So then the question is, that what really is the charge? Is it a direct bribery charge or not? It doesn't seem to be the case. Vishwanath Nair, who's been tracking the story closely, is adding more. Yes, Vishy?
Yes, Tamanna, so you're right. The bribery charges don't seem to be, against Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vneet Jaain. In this case specifically, there are three charges which are part of the DOJ document, which is securities fraud conspiracy, wire fraud conspiracy, and security fraud. But having said that, there have been no specific bribery charges which have been framed against these three people. There are also no violations under FCPA specifically against these three people. So even in that light, these three charges don't seem to stand. Is the sort of approach that is being taken at this point in time. We don't know what exactly is the role of these three names in this entire indictment document. All we know is that their names appear in this document, but apart from that, there has been no clear indication of the U.S. Department of Justice framing any charges or going directly against Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani or Vneet Jaain as far as the reading of the document goes. Tamanna.
Sanjay Asher, let's get a legal voice on this. Sanjay Asher, senior partner at Crawford Bailey, is joining us now. Sanjay, great speaking with you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Just getting us a quick perspective really on what's happening here. And as I'm looking through the documents, what becomes clear is then the question I asked, what really are the charges then? The charges are alleged security fraud conspiracy, alleged wire fraud conspiracy and alleged securities fraud, but not under FCPA. What is the implication of this?
So therefore, to my mind, if it is only these three charges, which is securities fraud, conspiracy, wire fraud conspiracy, and securities fraud, all three are allegations. So it is the impact of that is much, much lesser than the impact of FCPA. So from a legal perspective, the charges, these three charges have lesser impact than the charges of FCPA.
So, you said these are much lower than the charges of FCPA. So, now let me ask you this in another way and then quantify or give us some idea, Mr. Sanjay Asher, that an FCPA charge is at the end of the day a corruption and bribery charge. That is not there as per the DOJ documents. Then the question is, why has it been presented in this way?
I don't know why it has been presented in the way that there were FCPA charges. But now, as it comes out that there is this charge in relation to the securities fraud and the wire fraud conspiracy and the securities fraud, in which event DOJ may initiate action, at the same time SEC may initiate action. So therefore, the point being that FCPA charges have gone. It is only the securities fraud charges are there, which would have much less penalty, and it may be faster to have this under the settlement scheme or under the compounding of the offences, a resolution for the Adani Group.
So, with us, HP Ranina, lawyer, Supreme Court, now joining in. Good morning, sir. Thank you for talking to us this morning. Big news development in that sense. We've just understood and believed that there are no bribery charges from the FCPA on the Adani Group members. And it seems like the charges are and apply only to officials of Azure Energy and the investor in Azure Energy, which is CDPQ. What does this mean?
Well, this means that obviously the earlier reports were incorrect. And it also means that the Adani Group members like Gautam Adani and his nephew are not involved in any foreign corrupt practices. And therefore, this is good news for the Adani Group. And obviously, even the other charges have to be still proved. They are simply allegations. And Adani Group has certainly said that they are not involved and they feel that these are wrongly applied to them. So I think the matter should now be more clear, because obviously you have to prove something in American courts. Everything has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And unless there are actual facts available, you can't prove these charges. So these are only charges which have been made, and I don't think there's much to worry about at this point of time, especially when Gautam Adani and his nephew are not involved in these charges at all.
Tamanna here as well. The point
Tamanna,
is,
good morning.
yeah, good morning. Great to speak with you, sir, as always. Just trying to understand that these are minutiae of a legal document. What the Department of Justice and the SEC have said, these are legal documents. They are at various processes or stages in the legal journey, and there will be a legal counter, etc. Meanwhile, the damage that has been done, the picking up of these facts, and now the rebuttal clearly coming and saying that there were no corruption and bribery charges personally on the top 3 members of Adani Green in this case. So, what about the impact of that?
Well, the impact is that all this political storm which has been brewing in India has no meaning, because everybody is after Mr. Gautam Adani and the top members of the family. And it only shows that the top members of the family are totally clean, that there is nothing against them. So it certainly has a tremendous impact, especially in India, where, you know, these political innuendos are being leveled against the top people for whatever reason, as you understand. So that is a good sign that the top people are not involved. And even as far as the lower officials are concerned, we still have to see what exactly the charges are. As I said, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that these charges are valid. So let us see what the charges are, and once the trial begins, if at all it begins, then obviously everything will come out, the truth will come out in the public domain.
On this one, like we discussed with Mr. Ranina, this is part of the legal journey. But like we said, the damage has been done. Reputation has been tarnished to some extent, and shareholders have lost significant wealth. There should be repercussions to this, right? Or what next?
Well, repercussions are always there if somebody wants to take action, but then the question is who's going to take action against the DOJ in America. So obviously, these things happen. One has to accept it when you are a publicly listed company. And of course, wealth has disappeared, but wealth can also once be recreated once the charges are proved to be, without any foundation. So I don't think many people, of course, those who have suffered, if they want, they can take some action against. But I don't think anybody will have the ability to do that, because to fight in an American court is extremely expensive, and it may not be worth it. So wealth has disappeared, but wealth will once again be recreated once the charges are found to be unfounded.
Mr. Ranina, Sajid here. Just to get a clarification, Adani Green has disclosed to the stock exchanges that that the complainant has prayed for an order directing the defendant to pay civil monetary penalties. So then it actually only is limited to the civil monetary penalties for alleged security fraud violation as alleged in the indictment, right?
Yeah. So civil penalties, of course, if you can compound them or you can, come to some settlement. But even then, the question is to impose those civil penalties, you have to prove the charges. And unless the charges are proved, the penalties cannot be levied in a court of law. Of course, they can also go in appeal to a higher court. So appellate procedures are also open to all these people who have been asked to pay a penalty. But I don't think any penalties have been crystallized so far. And once they're crystallized, then they are appealable. And if you want, you can settle them. So both options are available.
And the settlement process is something similar to what we have in India, right? For a SEBI consent process where you settle without, consenting to any.
Yes, you can settle without admitting that you have committed any offence. So that can be also done. That is possible, definitely.
Okay, thank you so much, Sanjay Asher, HP Ranina and Vneet Jaain for joining us this morning as we're capturing that story. Agam now standing by with just an idea of, the impact that we've seen on the stocks and how very clearly now there has been misleading representation of what the facts of this DOJ case are.
The incorrect reporting of this particular issue has already led to a lot in terms of challenges with respect to the group. So firstly, the whole group as a whole has lost out as much as $54 billion in terms of market capitalization. We know the kind of correction that we've seen in Adani Enterprises and Adani Ports, which are in fact a part of the Nifty 50. And even besides that, Adani Green, Adani Total, a lot of them have taken a big knock. More importantly, do remember in the latest, we've also had Moody's as well as several other rating agencies downgrade the company with the outlook turning to negative. This, of course, is also a significant reputational loss, but let's not forget the most important one. Adani Green, which was set to issue $600 million worth of bonds, they were withdrawn on account of this particular allegation. And this is despite the fact that the Adani Green has an order book of $2 billion. And the group had withdrawn these bonds so as to make sure that the investors do not make a loss on a mark-to-market basis. But that opportunity has also been missed, and we must remember this is the second time it's happened that Adani group companies have sought to raise funds, and then we've had these incorrect allegations come through. In terms of your partnerships too, while GQG partners have maintained that they're unworried about their positions in the Adani Group companies, they have also said, well, the group partners have seen a depreciation in their own holding in Adani Group companies, and it has also suggested that Jefferies, which in fact has been supporting the Adani Group company, but these allegations and these incorrect reportings have caused a little bit of concern with respect to their view on the group as well. So there has not just been monetary damage, but also reputational damage, where the group will seek some sort of correction here.
Agam, in fact, penalized, right? Because this is so unfair in so many ways. On one hand, the reputation has been tarnished. On the other hand, it's not just the group, but minority shareholders as well have lost significant wealth. But the good news is the stocks become extremely compelling. They come at a huge discount after the recent fall. And like Vneet Jaain said, go out and buy the counters. So it is a blanket buy coming in on Adani Group stocks post the development of the latest news that we are getting in on the stock.